This microorganism can be the most destructive pathogen ever observed. Mr. Wayland died searching for, but acetylated and synthesized in our lab. I've turned it into the miracle Prometheus fire.
Guys, I got some bad news. Last week, I made a bet with Movimento that if I couldn't convince him to see some positives in Michael Bay, he could voice the next video. And, well...
And you did not convince me. Michael Bay sucks, as did that Transformers video.
You know, somehow I doubt...
A deal's a deal. And don't worry, I'll stick to your script. Now quiet. It's Movimento time. In Alien Romulus, a group of friends fly to a deserted corporate mothership to steal cryo-sleep equipment so that they can travel to a new planet in hopes of a better life. But of course, since the movie is called Alien, a bunch of bad stuff happens instead. Stuff like creepy crawlers chasing them around the ship and jumping on their face to impregnate them, baby xenomorphs bursting out of their chest at the worst possible moment, adult xenomorphs preying on them like alien cats with a ball of human yarn, an approaching asteroid belt threatening to turn them into mush, and even whatever the hell this is. And to be direct, Alien Romulus should not work. Because on the surface, it's another lazy Hollywood remake that recreates what's already been done by the franchise. The story beats are the same as in the first couple movies, the elements are the same as they've always been, and even the characters are lesser shadows of their predecessors.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Get away from her, you bitch.
By all accounts, this should be a very unnecessary movie, unworthy of your money.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
And yet, it is not. It works magnificently. Not only does it deliver a fresh and deserving experience to new audiences, but also to hardcore fans already familiar with the franchise. It is worth seeing on the biggest screen possible. And since the case with these Hollywood reboots is usually the opposite, the question then, of course, is how? How can a movie that by all accounts already exists make itself worthy of existing? Well, even though it follows familiar story beats, it adds new negative restrictions to them to make them exciting. Even though it reuses the same old elements, it mixes them up with new rules and context to make them freshly unique. And even though its characters are less iconic than their predecessors, it still makes them earn their place by making their journey feel bigger than all the journeys before. I understand that many of you may disagree with what I'm claiming. Some of you may even already be screaming at how wrong I am. But since in the YouTube space, no one can hear you scream at your screen, let's go through the movie and investigate these claims further, instead of wasting time talking nonsense about Michael Bay.
All right.
Let's find out how Alien Romulus takes an exciting franchise and elevates it to new levels to earn its own existence.
I took its gift, the divine gift to humanity.
Firstly, the way this movie elevates familiar story beats is by introducing new, negative restrictions to them to make things worse in them, and thus, more exciting. Basically, the hero, called Rain, lives as an orphan on a crappy mining planet where her only family is an android programmed to be her brother by her dad who died working in the mines. A planet where she is also forced to do mining work seemingly to the day she dies.
Quotas have been raised to 24,000 hours, so you'll be released from contract in another 5 to 6 years.
This is bullshit! This game is a scam!
That is, until her friends get the idea to break into an abandoned corporate mothership to steal cryo-sleep equipment and travel to a nice planet where they can finally live free. In other words, things at the baseline are already so bad that turning back isn't really an option. We cannot simply survive and go back home.
Oh, hell no!
We have to push on all the way to the finish line because the alternative is too negative. And in this manner, once the heroes break into the mothership, things continuously get worse and more challenging to make the familiar path exciting. The mothership is falling toward an asteroid belt, which makes it clear there's a deadline to worry about.
It's 36 hours, give or take.
Till what?
Before the station crashes against the rings.
The gravity in the mothership is flicking on and off, which makes it harder to safely maneuver through. The cryopods don't have enough fuel to reach the new planet, which forces the heroes to go deeper and allows the tension to grow beyond what was first expected. A lot of audiences already know what's going on. They know that this is the section of the story where the heroes wander around until they eventually come across the next story section, which is the facehuggers. But it's not an issue because in the meantime, there are all these new restrictions and challenges to be entertained by. A bit like how this is a Filmento video, except more entertaining because now it's not Filmento voicing it.
I don't get you. You could just read the script without.
More entertaining because
I don't sound like a monotone robot.
And because I'm not gay for Michael Bay.
That video really got to you, didn't it?
No.
The ending got to you.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about. Stop interrupting. I'm voicing the video. And the further the heroes go and the more familiar story beats they encounter, the more things keep going wrong from expectation. Yes, we come across facehuggers as always, but it's worse. There's a whole bunch of them, and there's water on the floor to conceal them, and the door of the room gets emergency locked, and so now all we can do is stay in there and try to survive the facehugger assault while the android is rebooting itself to get access to the door. Familiar, but exciting. Yes, one of the heroes gets face-hugged, as always, but there's a complication. The others get the idea to freeze the facehugger off of her. And so now, despite all that the audience already knows about facehuggers and what they do, the answer becomes way harder.
60-40 against your friend.
But odds on what? But the creature's finished its job already.
We can't just wish for the pilot to be abandoned or killed because she might not be sick. But we also can't just wish for her to be taken on the ship because she might be sick. A familiar situation grows into a much tougher dilemma, which is exciting to watch play out. Yes, there's the moment where a baby xenomorph bursts out someone's chest, which everyone in the audience knew was coming eventually. But this time, it's way worse. On top of the moment itself, there's also an external problem. The fact that this happens to the pilot of a ship while she's piloting the ship. A familiar situation becomes much And so, if you plan to redo a franchise's famous story beats, don't just redo them as is. Introduce new problems and restrictions and challenges to them to make them worse than before. Do that well enough and frequently enough.
47 minutes to impact.
Oh, I thought you said we had hours.
The explosion pushed the station's axis off by a few degrees.
And the audience will forget that they've seen the story before. The beats don't feel the same or boring. They're elevated into something new. As weird as it sounds, good is born from bad. If you look at your own everyday life, for example, you may find it hard to appreciate. You can surf the web to do whatever you want. You can stream whatever content you want. You can pay to get whatever things you want. Great, yet very vanilla. But introduce an obstacle to make your everyday life worse and see what happens. Oh no, I can no longer surf the web freely because I'm being tracked. Oh no, I can no longer stream my favorite content because it's geo-locked. Oh no, the prices in my region are getting too high to afford. The obstacle by nature requires a solution. And it's the solution that increases your appreciation of what you already had.
Hey, come on, baby!
And here, the solution, of course, is... Oh, I see. Of course. It's NordVPN, the fastest and most reliable VPN that lets you change your IP address to anywhere in the world with one simple click. It hides your true IP address to stop anyone from seeing where you surf. It lets you access all geo-locked content from everywhere. It gets you the cheapest region prices and even automatically keeps you safe from all malware.
The thrill of pawning a system.
Right now, you can use the link below to get NordVPN's 2-year plan with 4 extra months for free. You also get a 30-day money-back guarantee and help this channel. So to elevate the level of your life, check out nordvpn.com/Filmento. Actually, guys, do check it out, because if it helps this channel, it should be good for me as well. Secondly, the way this movie elevates old franchise elements is by making them play by new rules and context to make them freshly unique. A good example of this happens after the dead pilot has crashed the ship into another part of the mothership. As Rain hurries over to help with her brother and friend, they come across a hallway infested with facehuggers. And since the original movies already had many scenes of fighting and fleeing facehuggers, this movie decides to do something different with that facehugger material by introducing parameters.
They track key by sound, but primarily by heat signature. Your body temperature.
Yeah, the heroes learn that there's two sides to how the facehuggers hunt, which are sound and heat. And so, to move forward, they do something never done before. They raise the room temperature to match their bodies and sneak past the facehuggers as quietly and calmly as they can. A scene of old elements has become new, all thanks to the new rules it's made to play by.
Oh, shit. That is not helping. That is not helping. That is not helping. Bitch! Oh!
Another good example happens a bit later when Rain has been driven into a corner by a horde of xenomorphs armed only with one aim assist rifle. And since a scene where the heroes shoot at xenomorphs with an aim assist rifle is nothing new, the movie once again invents a rule to make it new.
Below our features a vacuum of space. You shoot that creature, and it's a guaranteed instant decompression.
The reason Rain can't just shoot the xenomorphs is because they're on the bottom level of the mothership, and the acid blood from the xenomorphs would eat through the floor and cause an instant game over. And thus, a new solution is required, which is to turn off the ship's gravity. Suddenly, the same old scene of shooting xenomorphs leads to something fresh. Rain doesn't just fire at xenomorphs like others before her, she does it in zero-G. And what happens as a result is that the room turns into a three-dimensional minefield of acid blood, which she then has to maneuver through. It's the same old, yet new and different. And in this manner, don't think about rules and parameters as limiting, because in reality, they are what makes your material stand out. The monsters in A Quiet Place would be the same as any other movie monsters, except for the fact that they're blind predators that hunt purely with sound. That parameter makes them and the encounters with them their own thing. Something which is very apparent at the end of Romulus. After Rain has made it out of the mothership alive, she thinks that the threat is over. But as always before, of course it's not.
Oh, hello there!
There's one more enemy right beside her that she must fight alone in a small space. That's right, it's another alien movie third act face-off.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
And yet, the reason this face-off can stand on its own is because the rules it plays by are more varied and complex than before. See, earlier, the movie introduced this idea of humans collecting xenomorph DNA to give humanity their invincibility. And since Rain's pregnant friend was badly hurt, she used it on herself in desperation. Which means that at the end, we're not fighting a xenomorph that exists only to kill or a giant xenomorph queen that seeks revenge. What we're fighting is a dumb human xenomorph abomination that's mostly confused about what it's meant to be or do. An abomination that we can't simply fight like previous times. We can't just press a button to eject it out or use a mech suit to throw it out. There are more parameters to follow. The way for Rain to beat the humamorph is to lure it down into the ship's cargo hold and then manually dump the cargo hold while being tethered to the ship above. All while the ship is falling toward the asteroid belt, by the way. And so, even though the material on ideal level is more or less the same as before, the execution is different and complicated enough to feel unlike anything ever experienced before, in any alien movie or in any movie. The point is that, if you want to reuse old franchise elements and material, you don't always need to make it greater in number or strength. You can also go more deliberate with the rules it follows. Do not change the rules or go against their past, because you'll get burnt. But do add more detail and context into the rules to produce a fresh outcome.
He needs some milk!
Thirdly, the way this movie elevates itself into having a worthy existence is by feeling bigger than the franchise has done before. And to be clear, this doesn't mean that Romulus is the biggest alien movie yet. It's not. The characters are less iconic than before, the enemies are smaller and less threatening than before, the new ideas are fewer than before, the production value altogether doesn't reach the same levels as when the franchise was in the hands of industry legends.
This is brilliant, but I like this.
But that being said, where Romulus is bigger is in feeling. See, like I mentioned, this time the group of heroes isn't self-explanatory. It's not a crew of space workers waking up to encounter a problem or a squad of soldiers going out on a mission. It's a family of individuals chasing a shared aspiration for a better life. Rain is an orphan girl stuck on a mining planet who dreams about traveling to a place where she can finally live free under a sun. She's moving towards something instead of just away from something. There's something beyond her survival, which is why there's more to care about in her survival than her simply trying to survive. The android beside Rain is Andy, an old model programmed by Rain's late dad to be her brother, which brings more emotion to the existence of androids than any previous movie. The android isn't just a member of the crew. It's Rain's last remaining family who exists primarily to make her feel joy in a joyless world. We know how much they mean to each other, and so we want them to survive with each other. That's where the emotion comes from. To realize that Rain is forced to leave Andy behind to reach the new planet.
You're not going to your mother.
I'm not?
Oh, she didn't tell you. No fake people allowed.
Rain could end up in prison if she takes you with her. That's okay. If it's what's best for Rain, it's what's best for me.
To see Andy lose his connection to Rain when his prime directive is overwritten by the company's code.
What's your prime directive?
To do what's best for the company.
To see Rain risk her survival to go back for Andy, no matter the differences between them. Never in the history of the franchise has there been so much to feel regarding an android.
I'm so sorry.
No. I'm sorry.
Same with the other characters. They're not self-explanatory crew, but instead built from specific emotion. Tyler not only has a close history with Rain, but also a brother-sister bond with the pregnant girl, Kay. A bond that influences a lot of what happens.
Guys.
When Rain and Tyler are sneaking among the facehuggers, Kay calls him for help because she's stuck with a xenomorph. And since he's her brother, he's willing to put himself and Rain at risk to help her. He wants above all else to open the door to save Kay, which others can't allow because it would be game over for them all. His brotherly feelings for her is why it breaks the audience's heart to see her gone. In other words, these aren't just victims we see die in cool ways. These are people we lose. Bjorn is Tyler's cousin, and he shares two primary connections. One with the pilot he's close with, and another with Andy, who he hates because it was an android that caused the death of his mom.
Well, there was a gas leak in the mines, so Synthetic made the call to seal them, with Bjorn's mom still trapped inside.
These connections are clear enough to emotionally invest in as if they were real. It's clear why Bjorn is constantly picking on Andy. It's clear why Bjorn desperately takes the sick pilot away from Andy, even though it means leaving the others. It's because he can't let an android kill another person he cares about just in the name of common good. The point is that even though there are less characters than before, and even though they're less iconic than before, the feelings generated with them are more than before. Even the company android is motivated by a second chance to finish the mission he once failed, which he tries to do in all his power. He may not be real, but he feels pretty close.
I just can't risk compromising the compound. But know that I'm grateful for the invaluable help you two have provided to the company.
That's what you should be aiming for as well. You might not be talented enough or financially equipped enough to make a franchise movie that's as big or good as the ones in the past. But the one thing you must be is more emotionally potent, at least in certain areas. You must feel bigger to earn your existence, because if you don't, the most you can ever be is a vanilla spin-off or a product made for money. In Hollywood...
That's enough, thank you. You did a much better job than expected.
What are you doing? You said I could do the whole video.
I know, but it's not in the best interest of the channel to let you finish a video.
We had a deal. I'm doing it to the end, you lying bay fuck.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm afraid I can't let you do that. In Hollywood, no one wants to hear me scream this because the only sound that travels in Hollywood is the sound of money. But I will scream it anyway. When making a franchise movie, elevate it like Alien Romulus, and the money will follow.